Good evening, Merry Christmas, ho ho ho. How's everybody doing? It is a season to be jolly, especially if you're a Celtic fan. You're joined here on a Monday night with me and my good friend Bhoycie. It's been a long time. You're kind of wondering, when's the last time you stood on a stream? It's been far too long. Anyway, hope you like the Santa hat. I hope you like the pigtails. It's the closest thing I'll get to having here anytime soon anyway. So, but anyway.
Looking great.
I know, love it. Got to have something to, celebrate. Anyway, before we get stuck into all the juicy gossip and all the details and all the reaction, all the fallout in terms of yesterday and today, if you guys can please like, share, subscribe. Don't forget you can do that. You share the bus far and wide with all your Celtic supporting friends and family, and maybe even some of your Rangers ones too, if you like to, rub salt in the wound a wee bit if you're so inclined. Also, don't forget that up in the corner up there, we are sponsored by piesports.com, so you can use the code BUS1888 if you would like to go onto the website and get 12.5% off your order of tasty pastry treats. I'll say that again, BUS1888 on piesports.com if you want to get some money off. Also, please don't forget you can become a Bhoycie Bus member for the low fee of $1.99 a month. Totally optional, guys. Just something if you guys want to do it, come on, do it, show some support. If you've got a wee bit extra cash lying about for some bets you maybe won yesterday, maybe get a wee Bhoycie Bus membership, a perfect Christmas gift for somebody and your family. Anyway, let's get stuck in because there's a hell of a lot to talk about. I know you've already spoken about it, Russell, so I don't really want to batter you over the head with how you're feeling stuff. But now that you've kind of had 24 hours to kind of think over it, mull over the details, the nitty-gritty stuff like that, how are you feeling in terms of how things were yesterday?
It depends what prism you want to look through it from. I mean, we're tempted to constantly look at it from through the suffering eyes, I think, of our rivals, as opposed to from a Celtic point of view, which is probably the more healthy thing to do. I think it's easy just to constantly want to rip into them, but then once you get lost in everything they're thinking about the situation, you're then having to open your mind and open your ears to all sorts now about wanting a replay. I think Sam Fan Celtic saying in the chat, I heard that on the radio tonight as well. This penalty decision has came out of nowhere now since the manager brought it up. I don't remember it being something that was at the forefront of players' minds at the time.
Don't worry, we'll get into all the details of that later, mate. Trust me.
But in terms, definitely, mate. But yeah, I mean, to try and look at it from what I would call the healthier point of view from Celtic, to just think in your rivals. You all right?
So you cut out a wee bit there, mate.
Oh, the old Wi-Fi's been dodgy recently, mate. I'm not paying my bills. Get
a membership. All that monetization money you're getting,
get a membership. Come on. But I think from your point of view, the most important way to look at it is, this one trophy's been available. We've won it. We've lost one game all season. And I think the biggest thing for me is the team's evolving, because the evolution of the side now is when we come unstuck at times or we face adversity, we know how to overcome it now, which I don't think this team until towards the sort of final quarter of last year was doing that enough. I felt last year it was, if we didn't do well, we went behind, we didn't react great to it. Even if we had strong starts, sometimes we could come out for another half and not look like we built from it. Whereas this season, we do seem like we've evolved sort of on the mental aspect of things. We seem a more seasoned team under Rodgers' second season than what we did under Rodgers' first time around. There was a lot of change last year, and I get all that. But yeah, from our point of view, that just rubber stamped that the side's grown. It's evolved a bit. We didn't win this trophy last year. We've won it this year, and the manner that we've done it and the difficulties we had to overcome tells me that we're in a far better place than we were 12 months ago. And that's the most important thing from a Celtic point of view, and they can cry all they want about whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. The healthier thing to do is to look at it from a Celtic prism, to look at it from where we stand. But as you know me, I like to take the piss a wee bit. So in order of that, I do have the Christmas hat on for a reason. So I've done you all a favour, got you a wee Christmas treat. I've written a wee Christmas poem about the game yesterday. So if you tune in, you have a wee listen. We'll get into that. So, ho, ho, ho. After Spurs, your tails were up, but you can't stop Celtic winning the cup. Brendan Rodgers runs this game. Clamont's record stays the same. On a dark and dreary night, the green and white beat Govan shite. Hard to stop a well machine. Rangers' success is nothing but a pipe dream. Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Let's wallow in their self-pity for as much as we can. It was all right, that, eh? No bad.
It was all right, mate. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
I mean, look, we Tamil Shanta from a Celtic other podcast. I am not, but I did try my best. So
Ronnie Pickering picked up on it straight away. Like.
That guy's my idol, man.
Tamil Shanta. That's got to be one of the funniest things I've ever came up with in my life. Calling him that. That poem was good, by the way, mate. That was really good.
I know, that's not bad. I did no bad in English in school. So anyway, but despite my my fumblings over my words on this podcast many a time that you wouldn't be able to tell, but I did no bad in school in terms of English. But enough about that. Let's kind of talk about the game just a wee bit quickly. We'll kind of get into some of the details. I know I don't want to batter you the head with me because you and Terry would you'll be sick to your stomach talking about it because you were on with Terry last night and you'll probably have to go on and maybe another show or something this week and talk about it again. So no doubt you'll come on with the judge potentially later on in the week as well, and he'll have his say. I'm sure we're all looking forward to that. But the way I look at it, right, is I recently, in terms of, I look at it in a positive, look at it in a negative way. Positively, we showed grit, determination, we showed a champion's mentality, we got there in the end, and we scored, I'd say, 2 really good goals. One was lucky. You need that in a cup final, you need that in a derby as well. You need things to go your way. And we did, show that this team is taking a step towards the next evolution and being, the dominant force. And, we are the dominant force. We are the most successful team in the country, in the world, whatever you want to put it is after all now. The Rangers better get the wallpaper scrapers out. I'm sure they can stamp a Rangers badge on it and sell it for a $5 a pop to their fans, and they'll come down and date it voluntarily. You know how loyal the Bears are. But, in terms of negatives, I took quite a lot for that, to be totally honest. I'm not trying to put a dampener or anything. I'm as buzzing about the result and I'm buzzing about the success and about beating them and having the cup as anybody else. The problem with me is that we made one of the worst Rangers teams in my lifetime I've ever seen, potentially the worst that I've seen, who haven't got a result against us yet besides that 3-3 moral victory last season. We made them look good. And I understand, right, that recently they've been getting a wee bit of form. But it is not difficult to get a bit of form on top of being fucking woeful, which is what they were a good few weeks ago before they came to play us. We did not make it hard for them to try and, kind of get back into that game. Normally, right, if we go 3-2 up in the dying embers of a game against them in a final, they sink. It would be history repeating itself, but we let them back in. There were lapses defensively. I feel there were lapses in judgment on the manager's side in terms of the substitutions. Personally, at those moments in time now, we can look back at it. I think the worst culprit on the pitches was Hatate and Greg Taylor. At half time, if it was me, I personally would have hooked Hatate, hooked Taylor off, put on Vai and put on Engels in their place. I was very, very angry with the fact that Rodgers didn't do that. And I thought, here again, he's been shown that there's players who aren't putting in the performances, who are looking like they aren't willing to try, who aren't good enough for the jersey for now, and he's reticent to make the subs. And I could almost guarantee it. I said, they need to come off to now. Everybody in their maw would scream at the TV that they need to come off. But I know that he won't do it. He'll wait about 15, 20 minutes into the second half, and he'll then potentially make the subs. And, that's what happened, because I could read it like a book. That's the only thing where, for me, is like, we got there in the end, right? And granted, Hatate came into the game later on, right? Greg Taylor got that goal, right? Maybe that's just me being reactionary. Nobody be like me. But maybe it's me just being reactionary. I don't know. I just feel like there's some... I know he does know better than us. He's the manager for a reason. I just think there's just times here, there's wee tweaks here, like, maybe if he'd made the subs earlier, we would have maybe seen the game out a bit easier, instead of having it be that slobber knocker for the ages now. Granted, this will probably go down as one of the all-time great Celtic Rangers finals, to be totally honest. It was a brilliant game of football, especially for a neutral. I was getting similar vibes to the France-Argentina World Cup final a couple of years back. it reminded me of that, which I thought, was a great game. So for neutrals and other people, it was a very good game of football to watch, very entertaining. But we've got enough there, and we know we've got enough there that we could go and beat them easily and go and pace them. We've seen it before, seen it happen. We've got the players there, the manager who can make it easy as it can be. For me, there were just some things I question. Now, I don't know. Do you disagree with me, mate? Like, how are you feeling? I feel like I need to just stop.
I think it's too dismissive of what they can bring to the party. One, and that football's a simple formula that if you've got the better team, then therefore you should win these games, and it's a simple formula like that. And if it was, sport wouldn't be interesting for the start. We wouldn't even be bought about football because there'd be no drive to watch it whatsoever, as there'd be no shocks, there'd be no surprises, and everything would just go as expected. And what we also need to remember as well is you talk about like the form they're in. This is like the top 8 in the Europa League right now. So whatever crap form they've maybe been shown in league terms, they'd still got to the first domestic final, the same as us. So they beat what was in front of them in regards to that. In the league, they had bad results at the start and are in their best period of form right now, which you rightfully pointed out. But on top of that, throughout this, when they've been up against decent sides, like Leon gave them a cuffing at home. But other than that, they went to Sweden and won 2-0. They went to France and put 4 past Nice. They have drawn with Spurs, and just recently, of course. I mean, it's too easy just to be like, they're shite, we're good. It shouldn't be like, I think you need to be, it's easy to say that. And you obviously want to say things like that when it comes to them and stuff. But I also think it takes away sometimes from Celtic's achievements, and it's a wee bit of rewriting of history. And I think this actually happened with Rodgers' first spell as well, where that Rangers team has got worse as people look back at it now than what it was described as at the time. And what your eyes told you at the time as well, in terms of the players they were bringing in, when it was Joey Barton at one point, it was a much decorated Bruno Alves at one point. These guys came in with proper pedigrees to that team too. And obviously Rodgers dealt with whatever's in front of him. It doesn't sit right with me that everything should be just as quite as binary as you make out, that we're better than them and they're not as good as us, so therefore
I'm not trying to make it as black
no,
and
your
white.
exact words were
I
we know we can beat them easy.
I know, but I know for a fact it shouldn't be that black and white. I know, but the thing for me is just like, we have shown previously in these games. I know it's actually been quite tight a lot of times besides the 3-0 game recently. I don't know. For me, there were just things there we could have done decision wise, and in terms of our playing stuff like that. I know it doesn't go down like that, but there was decision making in certain areas in terms of substitutions and passes and the way that the team was arguably maybe set up, where we could have made things a little bit easier for ourselves, and it wouldn't have been as bad. But then they made
it trickier for us as well.
That's and maybes.
From my point of view, what they did was, Conor, they took a blueprint from Club Brugge, and they read the patterns of Celtic's play, they did their homework, and they counted on us playing in with our certain sort of standard trusted formula. And with the way we get up the park, the type of passes we're going to do, Rangers, I think Lenny was brilliant in the analysis yesterday when he was in co-comments, by the way. I'm always biased with him anyway. But he was saying Rangers are literally setting the traps. They're waiting for Celtic. They know where Celtic are going to put the ball. And they've got, if it's Raskin, he's ready to read the next pass coming. They want that pass to be made. They think Celtic will make said pass, and they're going to capitalise and intercept it or close something down. That's what
you've seen with Bayrami jumping on Greg Taylor's pass, led to the eventual
totally, mate. And that's just doing your homework on Celtic.
I mean, maybe I am very reticent to give them credit, you know what, Mike? But maybe I am not giving them enough credit in the bank to say that what they did is what, City Club Bruges, they seen where we would, do the passes, try and make the intricate plays and whatever, and then shut it. We were getting pressed over the pitch. They very much did, actually try this game for once and try and nullify, and I think successfully nullified Callum McGregor and him being the, sort of person who takes control of that midfield.
Totally.
That was one of his arguably, worst games, you could say, especially this season, especially recently, and especially in terms of a derby. Is it was very, very kind of anonymous.
I still think second half he came into it, mate. Like if we don't score three goals, if this has been as bad as what it maybe is making, we've scored 3 goals against them. We've took the lead to twice in those out of those 3 goals. And then in extra time, with the only side that were going to win it was us. We were battering them without maybe without maybe creating as many chances as I would have liked. But I think as well, it's not always about giving Rangers credit. Let's not be taking away the credit that we give Celtic by saying everyone that we come up against is shite. I would rather it be, do you know what? See if every trophy was that easy to be won. It does diminish what Brendan's invincible record looked like, for example, first time round. When trebles get won, what are we getting all upset? You know, is that why we're getting so upset? Because we think they're all easy? I think sometimes there needs to be a step back and a wee bit of, do you know what? We were against a team that's in the richest vein of form this season. They sit 8th out of 32 or whatever it is in the Europa League right now. We have 11 points for 6. And they definitely have the best squad out with ours in the country. It was a cup final atmosphere. We went behind as well, and we've came back from it. We got the trophy. I think we need to just be a bit more appraising of what we've done, because see, at the end of the day, it's a results-driven business. We've got the fucking trophy, so I'm delighted with that, and it's how you get there. You know, obviously we can talk about it in that, but do you know? I think Rangers aren't something that I'm wanting to be praising too much, but I'm also very quick to not be sort of bringing down or dumbing down, you know, the
challenge
amazing achievement and the amazing achievement of what we've done. Do you know what I mean? By just by always saying that whoever we're up against is crap, because let's be honest, they weren't crap yesterday who we were playing against. No. It was a brilliant game of football. Whilst we might not have been at the races, some of that's down to us. Not all of it's down to us. No one gets to dictate a football match. 22 men in the park just get to dictate. Like, if we play crap, then that's the only reason the other team could do well. They still need to capitalise. And to be honest with you, I still thought the more moments of quality, even throughout the game, looked like it was from us. They were making it scrappier by doing their interceptions well and things, but they don't have that same level of quality when they get on the ball. But I'm chuffed that we got the result. But I don't think there's any gimmies, mate, in these things, and I'm pretty sure the Brendan, who's got 10, was it the 10th trophy or something like that? I think he's only lost 1 out of 20 derbies, which is an astonishing record.
He's got the best record out of any manager
ever.
Rangers. No, I think it's in 180 years. I think it was maybe someone before.
It's been around 180 years.
Fucking gee, why did I say 180? 80 years, sorry. Why the fuck did I say 180?
Well, either way, I bet if anyone's got the right to say it's actually about a scoosh, it'd be Brendan. And I guarantee you he thinks the opposite. I bet he's like, no, everyone's brought different challenges. Every single one of these fixtures do it, and let's hold it with the sort of respect it deserves. I know you weren't trying to go as far as that, but I'm just re-emphasising the point.
I mean, it's a very good point, because at the end of the day, when I was coming home from work, I was listening to the Super Scoreboard, and all of it was that they kind of like, Rangers have been so hard done by. Poor Rangers, woes Rangers, Rangers, they played very well, and it's all very sad for them that they didn't get the cup in the end. You're like, nobody on the panel were really giving Celtic that much credit, even something like Hugh Keevins, who, I think he's a bit chalk and cheese in terms of the Celtic support, despite the fact that he is a Celtic supporter, was kind of more focusing on the Rangers aspect as well, and saying, we do kind of need to look at it and give ourselves a bit of massive credit actually in the bank, because how we did it, truth is, over the past few weeks, and we've discussed it before, we haven't been that great. Our performances have kind of plateaued, and you could argue theirs have kind of went up a notch. And there's a psychological aspect comes into that as well. And that comes in terms of the manager wanting to get the best out of the team, and that's his job to kind of coach the team through that and maintain the level that he's maintained for such a long time in terms of the derbies. And he did it. I mean, we won it. At the end of the day, we've won it, and that's the main thing. And I think we can sit here, we can dissect, we can say maybe this was shit, that was shit, maybe that was great. We deserve more credit, they don't deserve credit, whatever. We can go back and forth all night. At the end of the day, Celtic are the Premier Sports Cup winners of the year 2024, and we are now Scotland's most successful club, and nobody can take that away, no matter how many players are complaining that Rangers are probably going to write to the SFA. So I think we can move on to that, because it is a very, very heated debate, very heated subject, especially if you're on Twitter and things like that, which I imagine most people probably are. It has been, a wash of stills and images and, clips and opinions and videos and decisions for last year and the year before and for last month, and trying to get to the bottom of this decision, which was not given yesterday. and it was the Liam Scales apparent penalty that on Vaclav Cherny as he was coming into the box. Now, I just answer to me yes or no, because I can't remember if you said it yesterday when I was listening to the show. Did you think that was a penalty, yes or no?
Right, it's a brilliant way to ask me that question. Me and Terry didn't bring it up yesterday.
That's good then.
No, but not deliberately, mate. That's how little in our mind it was. We went through the game. That never got discussed on the bus yesterday. Now, trust me, if anyone's watched any PMPs, like we've done over 200 or so, and me and Terry, something like that, 150, 200 sounded good. But let's say 150 PMPs we've done. We never skip over anything that might be, didn't mention that one. Do you know what I mean? Because it might look a wee bit dodgy for Celtic. It's not what we do. We always bring up everything. I wasn't on anyone's radar. That's it. I don't think it was I don't remember fans going mad at the time. I don't remember the commentary team live going mad at the time. I'll tell you this, the Rangers players at the time weren't going mad for a penalty instead of a free kick at the time. VAR, forget about where their loyalties lie and all this bullshit. VAR, if they've been proven anything, is trigger fucking happy, right? And that means if they can stick their oar in and see something and go, whoa, think, listen to us for 10 seconds and let the game be about us for a wee moment in time, they take it. VAR looked at it instant like a free kick, right decision, because they've given it for the foul that the referee's pulled up. And the foul the referee's pulled up is the foul exactly that is done with the collision with the legs. And where that is, outside the box, beating's blown for that. Then they want a foul for the next bit of the play. To me, it was just that was obvious, and it wasn't really. I didn't see it as a talking point. I don't remember having it at any point like something that was going to come up in conversation with me and Terry. I don't remember it being an important moment at the time either. And history tells me VAR gets stuck into these ones on these occasions. If there's a slight chance that they need to get involved, they get involved. So where we've found it is, come on, doing what a lot of managers do, is stuck to, he's found an excuse. He's formulated in his head once they've lost, or probably before they've lost, that if we lose, there's my fucking ticket. Do you know what I mean? To get a pass mark here, and let's hope the fans lap it up. Now, with his reaction post-match, their support have now jumped on this, and it's manifested into now being almost the deciding factor in this game. I mean, let's be real here. Could have took your fucking penalty even if you got one, because your striker certainly didn't fancy it, did he? So you had your goalkeeper took one out of your 5. So I ain't even. Let's have it right here.
That's the point. You still have to score the penalty, even if it is a penalty. Which is not, there's no guarantee that they would score the penalty. There's nothing to say that Kasper Schmeichel wouldn't save it or Tavernier wouldn't balloon it over the bar. There was still time left to go in that game as well.
Jack Button would take it.
Maybe. At the end of the day, right, the fallout from this has been nothing but, sensational viewing for me personally. But the thing I do need to question is I was listening to Super Scoreboard coming home, right? They've got a panel of 3 people, right, all coming from different backgrounds, as it were, in terms of their support and who they like and blah 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 whatever. But they're meant to have a say of journalistic integrity, right? And I know it, and everybody else in this chat knows it. It wasn't a fucking penalty. The penalty was not given because it was done for the original foul, but the coming together of the legs outside the box, not for the shot pull. Listen to Super Scoreboard. The shot pull, it continues into the box. It's a penalty. We've watched it back. Nobody's pulling him up for it. This is a massive platform that, by the way, sponsors Celtic put money into as well. We all, all the teams in that do it. Why no one's bringing up, right, the fact that these guys are just getting away with saying whatever the hell they want. They're saying, we've watched the back multiple times, we've zoomed in on it, we've replayed it back. They haven't actually watched the back. There is no journalistic integrity there. It's blatant lies. The
punditry bit, I'll give you that, but just to be clear, to be fair, that host guy, that Gordon Duncan, did say in the first call of the show, he went, right, just so we all head in the right direction here, he went, I'm not saying there wasn't a tug in the box, because if you look at the still, there definitely is, he says, but the foul that Beaton's given is for the foul with the coming together of the legs. Gordon Duncan, to be fair to him, about 6:10, did make that his sort of opening gambit, and but it's the pundits that don't necessarily want to listen to that or agree with it. But
All right, well,
to be fair to him,
at that point, yeah.
Honestly, mate, he did, and I thought at least he's never going to win that debate, but he set the tone saying, just so we're clear, this is why they've done what they've done. So, listen, Conor, the way it is with this shit is you get beat, you get upset, anything in life, you get fucking upset, you want to clutch at straws. They're running out of straws, mate, if they've not ran out of straws already. And that's all this is, just an example of that. And if they want to delude themselves that in a game they'll say we were shite, they'll say they played amazing, that they've lost again, and the only reason is for a penalty that wasn't a penalty, then that's when you know the straws are running thin and said straws jar, if there is such a thing. So I think the honest truth of this is it's the manager saving his own bacon on their side, ran with this narrative, and they've went, and they love, let's be real, comfort in lies or harsh realities. They'll choose comfort in lies every time. And they've jumped on that, and it's a false narrative of what was a nip and tuck final, a final that ebbed and flowed, that came down to a penalty shootout where an elite goalkeeper, Kasper Schmeichel, was the deciding factor. And that's the truth. And Celtic's mentality from a goal scoring point of view was we scored 5 out of 5. That's how the game was won and lost in the end. That was it.
Well, it's an interesting point you bring up the manager and their managers. There's points because the thing that he's came away and said is he's in his press conference, post-match press conference, he's come out and he's demanded that this be looked into. He's almost insinuating, some kind of incompetence at the level of terms of the VAR officials, in terms of referee, in terms of what's going on. Now, if you look at it on the flip side, our manager, who insinuated something similar, and was the same referee, funny enough, John Beaton, for the penalty against Hearts last season, was then given a match ban and was, raked through the coals by the media for what he said. Now, I'm just wondering, is the same thing going to happen to Clement? Because he's saying almost the exact same thing. He's coming up with these crass and frankly bizarre comments, and he has to play the fiddle with the gallery. We all know what it's like being a Rangers manager. But the way he's going about it is so ridiculous and so dramatic, and he's standing up and he's saying, you need to look into it, almost making demands of the SFA. And look, for a fact that as soon as Maeda's last final penalty, hit the back of the net, the first class postage stamp was hit on top of the letter. They're getting mailed straight to the SFA by Rangers because they're going to want, an explanation for this, like they always seem to do. I'm just wondering, is there anything going to happen with this? Is he going to get any punishment for this?
I think they're missing a trick, and I know they need to. They've went all in on this, and all their eggs are in a basket with this one now, and that means that there's no gap between Celtic and Rangers, and that's they've got their excuse in, so they're gonna cling to it. I actually think there's another instant, Conor. If it were me, if you want to talk about incompetence, or if I'd be really fucking, really frustrated if it was the other way around, is the one where CCV gets it a wee bit slightly late. He puts a sliding tackle in. He gets kind of caught. Blow the whistle. The ball goes to a Rangers player. There's no advantage for us. But he lets it now play on for another 10 seconds. And let's be real. That is a stonewall penalty for Rangers. If play is now carrying on. And Beaton then pulls back and points at CCV and gives the foul towards Celtic. Now, if we were going to be talking about something I think looks bizarre, I would be, if that was our way around, I'd be going, that's not how you referee a game. Why would you let it play out for the advantage of the team that caused the foul in the first place? If he's fouled CCV there while we're defending our own box, you blow for it on site,
on the spot,
in real time. And by not doing that, it then looks, if you were the other way around, going, have you just found an excuse not to give us a penalty? So if I was them, that's the one I'd be running with. How come once our player gets fouled, you then point at a foul that happened?
Because I thought in the moment he blew for the penalty for Rangers.
Of course. And that's the one, really, if they'd have a fucking brain between the lot of them, which they clearly don't, I would have said that was pretty harsh. But that tells you the incompetency levels, because John Beaton, whether we like it or not, he is photographed in a Rangers supporters bar after a derby before in the past. So we know where his leanings lie. So we know he's not doing Celtic a favour, but
It's
that's
not
a
just
little
them.
grasp.
If they're talking about VAR as well, you've got Alan Muir and Andrew Dallas from VAR. Both would lead to Rangers affiliation as well.
What I'm trying to say is, like, with regards to that, you know fine well, this is a competency thing that Rodgers flagged to you last year in plain sight, because he's just made a decision in completely the wrong order there. You don't, the team that causes the foul or makes the foul don't then get to play out their next phase of play like an advantage almost. Like, it makes no sense.
Yeah.
But I'm amazed that none of them have jumped on that one, because for me, that was the one, if they wanted a proper argument and a proper debate about, we feel hard done by there, that's what I would have been jumping on if I was, if the shoe was on the other foot. Thank fuck it's not. I thought that was really poor refereeing. And I do think, of course, as he came to the right outcome, yes, he has. Cameron Carter-Vickers does get caught late. But to then wait to only give said foul once you've seen the Rangers player then get tripped in the box, hell mend you for that. And I'm amazed that that's not the one they've ran with. And instead, it's one that seems quite bread and butter to me. The referee's seen a foul, called it as a foul for where the foul was given, and then the next wee moment, there's the tug on the jersey. But the original foul that he's blown for is quite clearly where the missed time tackle's made, which is not in the box. VAR can't overturn that because they know that's the foul that the referees blew for. The other one, however, I think serious questions he'd asked of how that can possibly be seen as a normal refereeing standard. But hey, it's not like it's been worked in our favour, because it was still the right thing, but it's just not how you get to decisions. It's just not how you decide outcomes.
No, I mean, it's interesting picking up the refereeing situation. I thought the refereeing as a whole yesterday, just the officiating in general, was quite bizarre and quite poor. There was multiple occasions where Celtic, players were getting booked for fouls. I remember in the second half, or was it potentially extra time? Carter-Vickers makes an absolutely fantastic tackle, wins the ball cleanly, and just because there's a wee bit of force in the end of it, he's immediately booked. And it's there, as Alan Hutton says, something like, "Oh, there's a bit too much force in it." It's a contact sport. There's no fucking ballet we're playing.
Yeah, we spoke about that one yesterday. Yeah.
This ain't fucking ballet. Like, I understand Roy Keane, to a bit of a tangent, is getting a bit of criticism now in terms of his punditry and stuff like that by some people in some corners, especially the analytical fans that are in the English Premier League, because he just likes to talk about the old blood and thunder days of Man United and that. But the fact of the matter is, he's got a point. This is a contact fucking sport. They wear studs. They wear shin pads. There's things there to protect them from tackles, from physicality. As there's a point, we're going to get to a point now, further down the line, where there's going to be no contact in the sport, where every single foul is a card. They're going to have 10 red cards a game. They're going to be playing like two aside. It's going to be absolutely ridiculous. There was a point as well in the second half as well. Celtic were breaking up into Rangers half of the pitch. Kyogo's then took out in the middle of the park. With the referee then plays advantage, and then Kyogo comes 2 seconds later, commits a foul, and then blows for Rangers. But I could be totally wrong. Is it not my understanding that if there's a foul committed in the park and you play advantage, and then nothing comes of that advantage, you then bring it back for the previous foul?
Yeah, something like that. But as we were just discussing there, I don't think they know what that rule is anymore either. With the last example I gave, as for the contact thing, I'm glad you bring that up. We spoke about it yesterday with Terry, and I said it's amazing how even the punditry, and I don't think Alan Hunt was trying to be biased, by the way. I think that was genuinely his logical outcome as to why the referee's given a foul is. He says he wins the ball, but there's a bit too much force, and you're going like. But so has he won the ball or not? That used to be kind of like the mantra. And then if it's man before ball, then it would be a foul. If he's took the ball, then there's a bit of the man that has to go because he's got in towards the ball first and made contact with the ball first. So be it. That tackle for Cameron Carter-Vickers, even now, recently retired players know you can't actually challenge you too much. It's basically saying now a side tackle is going to get banned soon. That's what it looks like it's heading 5 to 10 years, because let's be real here, Connor. There was no intent that had anything other than to get the ball. He wins it clean as a whistle. And yes, in a contact sport, that might mean that a player then goes over who was also trying to reach said ball. I can't fathom how that what he wanted it more. He showed more desire and more energy into the challenge itself to win it and get in there first. That just sounds like he's had too much desire and heart to win that ball, and as opposed to too much force. Fucking hell.
I mean, you look at even just this fixture alone. There was a few years ago. We all remember the Joseph Subinovic tackle. It absolutely fucking wipes at Kenny Miller, but gets the ball first, but that wasn't pulled up for a foul. And Celtic then go up the park and almost score from it, which we all look back. That would have been one of the best goals in Celtic history if that was scored. But
do you think that'd be a foul now?
They give Subinovic a red card for that now. They would give Subinovic a red card for that now, despite the fact he wins the ball.
Do you think it's even a foul?
No, because he wins the ball. He's foot down, he studs it up, he goes through, wins the ball. Just so happens that Kenny Miller is second best, and then does a somersault into the air. It's not a foul. It's clear as day that nowadays, but would be given as a yellow right away and potentially a straight red, because we know how soft the game's getting now. And it's absolutely bizarre. There was multiple times yesterday, like, that's never a fucking foul. That's never a fucking foul. Not a foul. Not a foul. No. Every time a Rangers player gets touched to go down, and they're given the benefit of the doubt almost. Danilo yesterday died for a penalty as well. Nothing being said about that. Nothing being said about that. Danilo died for a penalty yesterday. Nobody said anything. But you know, it's like just I don't get where we're getting at now. Just the game is getting away so far from what it is.
It's becoming non-contact.
Yeah, and it's frankly it's fucking ridiculous and it's heartbreaking at the same time. Do you know what I mean? But I think we can kind of bring this kind of all together in terms of like the decisions and them not getting this and them kicking up fuck. I mean, the meltdown has been absolutely glorious. Chris Boyd, I don't know if you've seen the clip with Sky Sports earlier on. Chris Boyd is absolutely foaming at the mouth with the fact that Rangers don't go to a penalty, saying we don't moan enough. Every time that Celtic get a decision against them, they want something known about it. Every time Rangers want as something explained, it's burst under the carpet. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure in the last like 5, 6, 7 derbies, Rangers have written a letter of complaint to the SFA after almost every single one of them, because you bring up the fact that things get chopped off by VAR multiple times against them this season. I'm like, but they've been explained to you before. They weren't wrong decisions, and yet it's still this whole thing that's bringing up, and it's the always cheated, never defeated mentality that the Rangers have got themselves in now, because they just can't simply handle the fact that they're just not as good as us, and that we have the edge on them in terms of these games. But even if, right, let's even
it's a two-way street, that though, Conor, right? It's a two-way street, because I grew up, obviously, my whole primary school life was the 90s and stuff, right? And we were on the receiving end of these sort of days where we thought we played well, but, we'd end up, snatching defeat for the jaws of victory and all that. And then there'd be all these sort of casting up of decisions and stuff like that. And we were always looking for ulterior motive for that to be the reason why things are given. And if I'm honest, I think since Vars came in, it's been kind in this fixture to Celtic. I don't know why you can't have that as an opinion in it, be anything but just being, I'm just giving my honest opinion. Folk don't need to agree with it. But I think like the Lager Bielka, when I look at that and go, you go fucking mental with that the other way around. I think even the Scottish Cup final one, because the push Raskin does is so obvious, is why we get it. But is he pushed as well? Aye. And I think sometimes you just get the rub of the green, or the green and white. And I think they're just going through what we were. But trust me, when the shoe was in the other foot, we were just as bad. This cheating never defeated saying actually came up was actually a term that was aimed at us first and foremost, that we're now using back on them, if you like. So just for balance, this is what you do. You do that bit of soul searching. You look for reasons that aren't within. The reality is, of course, that they know they're against a juggernaut of a Celtic side with an elite manager and a team full of assets that would be, worth over 150 million pound in transfer value, whilst they sold 5 players in the summer for 800 grand. And these are the realities they hate talking about and they don't want to talk about. So they'll look for the same probably excuses that at times we were as well, where really we should have just got the job fucking done and stopped looking for. Some decisions were bad, of course, and I'm sure That could be said as well. But I just think for me, they're just going through that period. Well, it's a long one, but we were quite similar when when it was the things were going against us, mate. To be honest.
Well, here's the thing I will say then is for me it's karmic justice. At the end of the day, it's karmic justice because of the shit that I feel like they got away with back in the day. I mean, let's be honest, dodgy handshakes, ex-referees doing speeches inside the Orange Lodges, referees getting to decide their final game they want to referee. They just so happen to pick Rangers. You know, referees getting pictured inside Rangers pubs. You know, laughing up, joking about, you know, awarding decisions against Celtic and then bigging up Rangers and that. The thing I will say is there's arguably more evidence in terms of us having, you know, something to moan about than is for them over the years, you know, with the corruption and shit like that they got away with the SFA.
Yeah, oh yeah,
But
yeah. But everything's time
so
relevant, Connor. People live in the present, mate. I mean, you live in the present. It's all about what's happening in the here and now,
aye,
and
but that's what I'm saying is
that's why they're.
the coin's flipped.
So if you're watching that game, though, if you're one of their fans, they're not going to be thinking about, oh, mind that time we got away with signing like guys in EBTs. That they're just thinking of, I thought we should have had a penalty there. Let's make up. So they're not. Everyone's about in the present.
I
you're the
don't
team.
care. They're not going to be thinking about that. I don't care.
You're the team hurting.
For our perspective, I think it's karmic justice for the shit that we were subjected to back, you know, during the 90s, early 2000s, shit like that. You know, when in the 80s and that, when it was rife. Like, you like, obviously, it was kind of before my time. I can only go by, you know, things that I've seen online and you know, first-hand reports by people who were there and who've seen it and, you know, listen to you and other guys on the pod who have got a wee bit, you know, more on me in terms of mileage and I've seen that. That's not maybe cheeky, by the way, but just like, you know, saying that like yous have seen it, yous have got more in terms of you know the bank than me in terms of seeing shit like that. So, but yeah, for me,
I stay zen about these things, mate. And I just feel like
you're
let me
talking to
just
a brick
explain.
wall with me in terms of that, though. You know what I'm like.
Oh, I
in terms
know
of the
that. I'm
reactions and
talking
that.
about a brick wall that keeps interrupting me too. So what I was trying to say there was, in my opinion, I'm zen about it because I see these things, mate. Like I see similarities in how we would look for. I remember even when it was nip and tuck under O'Neill and stuff, and it'd be you're clutching, as I say, these straws that I think there's a running out on. It's just the way it goes, mate. Like they're hurting bad. I think the real realities and the real challenges that face them to try and overcome us on a sustained period, I think they know deep down are so far away, so far away. They'll win the odd cup, which is what they do now. They'll win the odd league title, I dare say, in time. But I think that's the real reality. They don't want to look at. They don't want to face up to. And I think whilst that remains their biggest challenge to overcome, that they can't overcome, then they'll look for smaller battles, and even if they need to create them in their own head that don't exist, do you know what I mean? Because that'll help them feel better and sleep at night, do you know what I mean? But for me, the biggest problem from their point of view and the biggest win for us is it's that these two clubs right now, mate, are seismic in the difference in terms of where they're going forward. What happens if there is one issue? Remember that Dave King quote about deck of cards? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
They'll fold like a pack of cards or something like that.
Cards.
Yeah. Like, see, the thing is that it's so ironic that one bit of adversity for them, and they do fold like a deck of cards, and they sacked Gio because of a slightly dodgy start to a season 3-4 months after they'd been in a Europa League final. The year before that, they'd won a league. And since that moment, they've just completely combusted, absolutely folded. We've had a bad period, but we always were going to be able, if we had a bit of luck, and I do think they both got a wee bit lucky in some of the things, but we had the resources, mate, to always give you that sustained belief that eventually, and probably sooner rather than later, we'll be able to reverse the downward trend we might have for a short period of time. I think deep down there, this is what's killing them the most, Connor. They know that it's it'll certainly feel for them, it's irreversible. Who's got the stranglehold of Scottish football, and that is the one they don't want to face up to. So they'll win as many petty wee battles in the meantime when they know that they can't win the war in the end.
I know. I mean, that is where the clutching at straws things come from, because I think it's all they've kind of got now at the end of the day. And let's put it this way: they've clutched at enough straw, they've got enough to build a fucking scarecrow at this point. But let's move on. You're talking about where the clubs are going to moving forward. That brings me excellently on to my next point. So, in terms of now, right, what do you think this means for the league season going ahead? We've had a bit of a plateau recent weeks. Do you think now that this, ticked off, the back of that win, getting that trophy, maintaining the success, not maintaining, elevating the success? Because let's not be reticent to hammer in the fact that Celtic are now officially the most successful club in Scotland and the world in terms of, the way that Rangers have put it. So that title, that honour now, made up honour, what the fuck you want to call it, now belongs to Celtic, right? And that's not going to get took away, because let's be honest, the league's pretty much wrapped up. Let's, in hush whispers, whatever. But where do you think now that Celtic go from here? Do you think this is then, an just a little bit of an extra, fuel in the tank to keep progressing, or do you how do you think this is going to then impact and then lead on for the rest of the season?
I mean, it's a weird one. It's a weird one because I think, from their point of view, they get better once there's less, it's less nip and tuck. So, let's say, for example, they agree with you, Connor. They think the league's gone, right? Because of the points gap, right? Suddenly their form improves domestically. They start, because the shackles are off a bit, there's less pressure if you're already out of a 2-horse race. If you're not in the race anymore already, suddenly you can play without that pressure on you, and they look maybe a bit better. That then builds up more hope than they would normally have had, say if it still was nip and tuck in the league going into this final, because that's not when they like football. They don't like it when it's close and tight and the heat's on. So they've came in this as optimistic as they possibly could, and they've still lost, and they've lost in the most cruel of ways. So what does it do for them? Well, they're not going to like it. I think it'll be tough for them to bounce back from that. And I think from the fans' point of view, they'll feel it's a very long season ahead. However, the question I'll ask you next, based on everything you've said today, and remember I'm in that group chat with you, right? So I know. Jake will win at Ibrox. Now remember, we should be beating them easy, you said at the start of the show.
I think we've got in.
You shouldn't have had to think about that answer,
man. I know. I think, right. I think in terms of you fucking bastard. Honestly, catching me where I'm just spurring out word diary, and you're like, I'll fucking use that for later. But I think this now potentially will do a great deal of psychological damage on Rangers, because you know how much, I think this is the thing I was saying to my pal yesterday who came out to watch the game. I said, us winning that in the fashion we did yesterday, penalty kicks, last kick of the ball, right, will potentially do a lot more damage to them psychologically than what it would do if we give them a 4 or 5-0 pumping, because of the fact is they thought they had it within their grasp and it just goes ripped away from them like that. And when you're trying hard for something, you try really, really, really hard, which Rangers did yesterday. Let's give them credit that way. And to have it ripped away in such a cool fashion at the end, they might just think, fuck it. That could potentially do a real number on them. And there's it's going to be pedal to the metal right up until Christmas, because the games are going to come thick and fast. And there's going to be hard away venues for both teams. Granted, we'll talk about ours this week later on in the show. But I think going to Ibrox, I think we could. It also depends how the next few weeks goes, but I think off the back of that, and the fact that will potentially be more points clear, I think we could rock up, and because we did still put 3 past them. If it wasn't for a couple of lapses in judgment defensively and one bad pass by Greg Taylor, that could look like a 3-1, which is quite a convincing scoreline. So, and I think that the potential is there. Whether it'll actually happen or not, we have no idea. I hate predicting it, because my predictions never come off. They never ever come off. That's why I always, besides my one that I'm maybe going for this year is that the Invincible treble again, potentially still on. But I just think that whenever I bet on something, I actually bet on something. Whenever I predict something, never comes to fruition. So I think for now, for our sanity, for our sake, I'll just keep my mouth zipped in now. But I think we've got a potential in us to go there and potentially give them a wee bit of a doing.
Well, you never know, mate. You never know. A wee bit of doing. I wonder if it's actually what. I think it helps them anyway. It gives them a chance to get out of the mire. I think, see if there was no derby fixture for a while, pal, or this one was at Celtic Park after that cushion weight to lose at Hampden, I think that would have been a nightmare for them. I think the fact they can kind of remedy it in their own mindset, and it's at Ibrox that gives them a fighting chance, maybe is a good thing for them. Or otherwise, I think the season could have spiraled a wee bit, to be honest with you. It'll be interesting to see. It's all about what they can do in between now and then. They'll need to jump back. From Celtic's point of view, I knew they'd be talking about the invincible stuff before New Year if we stayed unbeaten. Now, there's still so many games to go. It should be still fucking not even discussed. And it shouldn't be something that we then start putting pressure on our own expectations with either, and then ending up more gutted if we do what every team usually does and loses a game of football during the course of a domestic league campaign, and we start making it worse than it is because we've kind of pinned our hopes on the invincible thing. That is a needless added pressure, but I don't think it's beneficial for the fans, let alone the players, to have. But I do think that game brings the season, the league, the league race, you know, if you want to call it that, whatever it is, it rubber stamps Celtic winning it if we were to get 3 points there. What I do think it does in two ways, if they were to win, and I think we see enough of Hampden to say it's not a complete fucking pipe dream for them that they could maybe beat us by the odd, you know, a one goal at Ibrox or at New Year. I think it's potentially could happen. And it's potential, of course, as well that we could do what you said and go out there, play to our absolute best and scalp them. Rodgers' record speaks for itself. But if they were to win, I do think the league narrative would change slightly. And I do think we need to be wary of that. And I think there would be that sort of, just a wee bit of doubt we keep in our mind for the first time domestic this year. We've been utterly superb domestic this year. What is it? We've played in all competitions, about 18, 19 games now. One draw, no defeats. Who the fuck gets results like that, mate? Few and far between. And this is a guy who's got invincibles before. So, of course, with that in mind, that should give you that extra.
Yeah,
extra
and the scary thing is he's actually bettering that record, which is a scary thought. You know,
mate, I see all this push about this is how you get into this situation where it's the worst Rangers team you've ever seen. The referees are all against Rangers. It's funny that because it was all the same fucking the last time the same manager was in charge of Celtic. It was the worst Rangers team ever after he got the Invincibles. The league was the worst we'd ever seen. You know, I'm seeing Aberdeen competing for second place. Don't get that very often. And it seems quite competitive at the top there. Hearts are at the bottom of the league, and yet they're one of the biggest, most expensively assembled squads in the league. Seems like it's quite a competitive one. This will turn into, if Brendan carries on in this run, is to take away from what he does, is he takes Celtic to another stratosphere, the rest get left behind, and rather than them saying that, what they would rather tell you is Celtic stayed the same and the rest fell off a cliff, rather than just saying we've went up the levels. Yeah. And that's why I always think with the Invincibles, it was a pity there wasn't more European examples in that spell that could have given you more bona fide examples of why that was such a good team. This time around, it feels to me like we're kind of getting the results in Europe too, which gives the team that wee bit more sort of authenticity of being a properly good Celtic team to remember in years to come.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a question now. You don't have to answer this because I know how much you love Martin O'Neill. But should Brendan Rodgers take Celtic into the next stage of the Champions League, get another couple of wins under his belt, and potentially, win the next, a knockout fixture, and with what he's doing in the league now, and with his, invincible treble and stuff like that before, does that make him the ultimate Celtic manager in terms of modern day after the turn of the millennium? Do you?
I think I think there'd be a hell of a strong case to make. I think there'd be a hell of a strong. I genuinely think the reason he wouldn't get that would be a personal thing, and I think it'd be there's two. everyone would fall back on O'Neill left because his wife wasn't well, and fair enough. That was the case. And Rodgers left because he got offered the Leicester job, and he the whole rat thing and all that. But I think when you obviously eras are difficult to compare as well, because not only was Celtic had done fuck all in Europe, remember, Conor, for hadn't been after Christmas, I think, in 22 years when O'Neill got us past Celtic Vigo. And when we got past Celtic Vigo, remember the year before, we got 9 points in the Champions League, our first ever group stage sort of experience in European football. We got 9 fucking points. I should have got a point in Italy, and we're cheated out of that. Talk about refereeing decisions. We really were then. And that would have been 10 points we should have got in our first, and domestically, to be fair, then, not saying that the league's awful in comparison, but the league was better then, right? Way better. Like, the other teams were proper spending money they didn't have, and not just in Rangers' case, Dundee's, Motherwell's, all of them, mate, Hibs, but the teams were a far higher level. So to be able to do both that O'Neill was doing with a really strong title rival as well, I think makes his challenge between both was a wee bit harder. Albeit, if you're then on the other side of the fence, you would say Rodgers is in his European endeavours is in a financial uphill battle that O'Neill was actually in an almost level playing field with. Almost. We were paying guys 30 grand a week when, say, Juventus stars were on 40 grand a week. Not that much disparity at that point in time. Do you know what I mean? Whereas now it's night and day. Do you know what I mean? Utterly night and day. I do think that, I think there'd be too much. If it were me and he was to go, and it's all hypothetical based on what you said, but if he was to go and win a knockout tie, it gets us through this Champions League stage right now, then win a knockout tie and do another invincible season, that would be the best Celtic manager I've seen since 2009. Yeah, you would have to say that.
That's fair.
But it wouldn't make him. People would muddy the water very quickly. Would muddy the water with who's the best and their favourite.
Yeah, I was a popularity contest. I think Brendan comes second. I think
folk would muddy the waters with it. But I also think they would kid on though, because he's Barton's their favourite. They would kid on.
Do you not also think that the actual teams they manage themselves also come into factor as well? Because let's be honest, the teams at night day. Let's be honest, Martin O'Neill's team would probably absolutely hammer. It's got on the Celtic side by a fair margin, and I think that also goes hand in hand with how you view the managers. You view them through the lens of the team that they had as well. So, I think that would maybe also come into the equation because on Martin they had Big Shut and Harson, Henrik, Bobo Balde, Lubo Moravcik. I know, don't just terms of that, but I think in terms like the characters as well. Like Everidol's Kyogo and Cal McGregor and Carter Vickers and that. You're like, I think if Kyogo walked into a changing room with Bobo Balde, he'd fucking shit yourself. So let's be honest. I think Kyogo would take one look at him and then pull his hamstring. Just but
again, the conversation right now. Anyway, I know what Thomas Burns has said. Essentially, let's get to the playoff stage first, then, which is fair. The achievement has not been made yet in Europe, and again, my worry with that is, whilst we were on a really, really good run of form this season, as you said, it's maybe plateaued a bit, albeit results haven't really dropped off too badly. I think we should have took advantage of the good form we were in and just maybe been a wee bit ahead of what we are in the Champions League, because it does feel like all eggs are now in the young boys Bern match. All the eggs are in that basket now. It's almost like a final, and just because of the way it is being a Celtic fan, that gives you the fear that could be, one of those ultimate disappointing nights where your expectations aren't quite met. That does worry me a wee bit. So yeah, we've definitely got that hurdle to overcome. Thomas is spot on.
Aye, true. I mean, you wouldn't put it past Celtic doing the classic Celtic thing. We've done so well in terms of the results we've got in Europe this season against amazing teams. I'm pretty sure Atalanta are kind of still up the very top of Serie A. I think they're not first. I can't remember if they were first or not, but they're very high up in Serie A, and RB Leipzig have strong good results together in the German leagues. They're a very, very financially well drilled team, and It's just like, you know, 10 points could be enough, arguably, but you wouldn't put it past Celtic doing the fucking Celtic thing that we've seen time and time again and not getting the result and making things much harder for ourselves and then having to rely on getting a result away at Aston Villa, which would kind of put the fear of God into all of us.
Oh,
But
you can guarantee one thing with us. If we win, we'll be the team that finishes right outside whatever the next layer is. You know what I mean? How if you're in the top 24, you go through. But it's like
aye,
we'll get 12 points, but just narrowly miss out of being in the
like goal
the
difference or
top
some shit like
16.
that. Or,
Aye, and if we draw, we'll be the only team with 10 points that don't go through. It'll be some shit like that. That's so. Win that game against Young Boys Bern is just so crucial, and I do think we've put a bit of pressure on it now, and I don't want folk to ever think that's a gimme. It's good to be confident, but there is no gimmies at this level, and I think that's maybe where people are losing sight of what the Champions League's all about. There is no gimmies in it.
Right, well, to finish up then, we do have another game to talk about this week. We shall look ahead for a wee bit, and that is to the game this weekend against Dundee United, who are currently sitting 5th in the table, I believe. They've had an actual not bad season, especially in terms of Dundee United. Usually view them as a mid to lower table side, kind of flirting with the relegation spot from time to time. So they've actually done not bad. They have only won, however, one of the last 4 games with 2 draws, so in reality they've only actually lost one as well. So they're going into this game in not bad form. We all know Tannadice is a little bit of a tricky venue. It is one of the better away days, in the league calendar. Them and Tannadice, Tynecastle, going to be Ibrox if we're ever lucky to bloody get a ticket. If that ever comes back, places like that, one of the very good away days to go to. So we're going into this game off the back of the victory against Rangers. Do you think, mate, that this weekend is time for changes? Do you think we give some of the guys a little bit of a rest, or do we go into this game with the exact same starting lineup as we had against Rangers, try and keep that bit of consistency going through the team, or do we make changes? And how do you think it'll play out? Do you think that we'll get a bit of momentum from that previous win there, and we'll go in and give Dundee United a little bit of a hammering, or do you think we could be in for a wee bit of a sticky wicket? Because obviously the results previously the last few weeks leading up to the cup final weren't as good. They weren't bad either, but they weren't as free flowing and electric as what
The
we had
results were
seen up
still
until
pretty
that
much
point.
flawless.
Oh no, the results
The
are good, but the
performances were. You said
performances. Sorry,
like
the
the
results were
results
the
are.
missing performances.
That's you know what. See if folk forget. See sometimes it can kind of give you more confidence if you know you've not played great, but you're still getting the results. That can sometimes build a different level of confidence and assurance to the team. As for who he picks, I mean, to be honest, the whole point of having a squad is that you pick the best team to win that match, and there shouldn't be a drop off in quality or whatever. I think to be honest as well, when we talk about one draw this season, and all the rest of the matches we've won this campaign so far domestically, the momentum's already built, so it doesn't matter who's in the 11. I think fatigue will come into it, conditioning, make sure everyone's. But I think he's given the players a couple of days off now as well for yesterday, which makes sense. I don't know. I think the team that he picks will just be based on the best team he sees fit to win that match in front of him. I don't think too much will be playing in the factor of what happened at Hampden. Obviously, with most teams you pick, you can factor form of players, but maybe I mean you'd just be purely speculating. And what I like is it doesn't worry me if we take Taylor out for Valle. It doesn't worry me if we take Kyogo out for Ida. It doesn't worry me if we take Atati out for McCowan. Do you know what I mean? These are you just worry me if we take Trusty out for Scales. These things are all sound, man. Do you know what I mean? So I'm sure there will be inevitably changes, but I'm sure the changes that Roger sees as being important to us getting the 3 points against Dundee United. Dundee United have done okay this season. 5th in the league, unexpected to be honest with you. I'm quite chuffed for Big Jim. I think he was. I always remember that Aberdeen.
He was getting a shit time. He was getting a shit time a wee while ago. Do you know what I mean? He was getting a lot of criticism in terms of his job.
Yeah, well, I remember when he was at Aberdeen, and I think they sacked him at Easter Road. I think it was Easter Road, if my memory serves me right. And then Dave Cormack does the press conference. There was this image of Jim Goodwin. He didn't even get like on the Aberdeen bus home. He just there's him walking out with his sort of sports bag out Easter Road. He's in Edinburgh. I'm sure his house. I don't know what his house was at the time, but it just looked like a lonely sight. And for him to bounce back now, he's got a championship title under his belt as a manager, and now flying high again. And he'd done well, remember, at St Mirren and stuff like that in the past. Alloa as well, and he's ex-Celtic player. So with all that in mind, we'll, it'll all go straight out the mind at the weekend, and hopefully his team gets stuffed. But after that, I quite like seeing him do well, to be honest with you.
I mean, yeah, I'm the same. I mean, I think Dundee United are kind of one of those teams that, like, I don't know, I guess you maybe have an affinity for, if you like other teams in the SPFL. I mean, I only really support Celtic, but if there were a couple of teams in the SPFL that you do have a small, inkling towards, it'd probably be along the likes of like Hibs and maybe Dundee United, and that'd probably be it. Or maybe Aberdeen, but then Aberdeen have kind of shown themselves to be quite arsey this season, thinking they were, Billy Big Bollocks coming and trying to challenge for the league title, and then they've, thoroughly shut them up. But yeah, I think in terms of changes, would you make any changes? If it was up to you, would you make any changes? Because you could argue that, this is an away fixture, a kind of game where it could be a bit of a sticky wicket. This, you could argue, be the perfect game for putting guys like Ida and McCowan in from the start, because, bit of a stodgy defence potentially. Ida could, be that kind of battering ram. Luke McCowan played at Tannadice umpteen times, knows exactly what it's all about, knows exactly how Dundee United are going to set up, and has, gotten, results against them before. So, what's your thoughts on that, mate?
No, I think I think it would be the three that we've kind of touched on. I think it would be Vi for Taylor, it would be McCowan coming in for Tatty, and Ida for Kyogo. I'd be quite settled with that being my team to go to Tannadice. And I think there's loads of benefits to that as well for that fixture. But as I say, I would rather Rodgers. Obviously, we're going to talk about it and stuff, but I think Rodgers, whatever changes he makes, will just be with that in mind. I think he'll be feeling. I think one of the reasons the team maybe is more assured as well this year is fundamentally there's an awareness, not just with the manager, but with the squad. We are a bit stronger now. We are a stronger outfit throughout the. I'm not saying it's a finished article. I'm a fuck. You know what I'll be like in January, Connor? I'll be banging that drum, keep your eyes on the board and all that. But I do think the squad depth, whether the recruitment was done later than I would have liked or not, is irrelevant now. But I do think I think the squad itself will be acutely aware that we feel a bit more comfortable with the core players that Brendan's picking from now. We've got more options in each position. Competition breeds better form normally as well, in all walks of life, let alone football. So I think there'll be changes made. The three I would make are the ones I'm saying, but I'm sure the big man will have a better idea of what to do than me.
I mean, there is a gargantuan difference in the confidence levels this season, compared to last season, especially this time of year. Thinking about going up to Tannadice this time of the year last year, I think we already would have been, shitting ourselves because, how we were at that period of time. So I think it's all kind of wrap this up in a way saying, I think looking at where we've came from last year to this season, the kind of steps and strides we've made in terms of Brendan Rodgers making this team even better and taking it to another level in terms of European success as of now, and in terms of domestic success, taking us to that the Nirvana or whatever, being the most successful team in the country and the world. It deserves a massive round of applause, a massive pat in the back, and let's just all take the rest of this week to just revel and enjoy the fact that we are, sitting here, Premier Sports Cup winners 2024 after just beating Rangers. And I think, all the nitty gritty, all the details about shit like that, we've kind of just come into, can get discussed obviously at a later date. So let's now just, at the end of this, just take a step back, enjoy it, have a good rest of your week, guys. That has been all from me. Thank you to my lovely co-host Russell for joining me. Thank you very much. We'll see you later on in the week. I imagine the guys will probably be on tomorrow night, and Bhoycie will probably be on with the judge on Thursday night, and then the Friday show will be on with Phil and the Punk Duck Warlord. Hopefully, I'd like to see get his take on that Greg Taylor miscued pass. That'll be one sitting there with the popcorn. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I believe that one for him.
Anyway, guys, it's been an excellent time. So don't forget, like, share, subscribe, buy some hair, like and share. Go to buysports.com up in the corner. Use code BUS1888 for 12.5% off your order if you would like to use that. And don't forget to become a Bhoycie Bus member for $1.99 if you so wish. Thank you, guys. Have a good rest of your week. Hail, hail. Bye.
And remember,